Hi, my name is Tabitha Hanson, and I will be doing my presentation on classroom management. So the first management lesson that I'd like to talk about a little bit is called the Effective Lesson Management and Supervision Concept, and it is by Jacques Koonin from the packet that we got. And basically what this is a strategy used by creating a lesson that keeps students engaged and on track by using good teaching techniques, challenges, and enthusiasm to keep the students from not getting bored. So as a music educator, my lessons will be structured so that everyone is fully engaged during rehearsal. And so what we will be doing in my classroom, I will be teaching band. So this is going to be obviously learning pieces of music. And before we start any of that, we will be doing kind of exercises before we start. So that will be about warming up with like a scale, for instance, or give the students a couple, minutes to practice their pieces, whatever they're doing, be it for like solo ensemble or the upcoming rehearsal, or if they're doing their own stuff, just anything to like get them ready for the band class that day. And with the creating the challenges, that will be, giving them harder pieces of music to learn, kind of challenging them as musicians so they can become better equipped in the future, not just as musicians, but as good functioning members of society in general. And by showing enthusiasm, giving them pieces that are fun, not only important to know in their repertoire, but kind of like pop songs, like from on the radio, stuff that they know, not just music from old composers, stuff that they actually want to learn about, especially if they're kids who are just in it for the easy A, so to speak. We all know who those people are. Just to try to get them involved and try to keep them in the class. And so the activity I will be demonstrating is I picked students will listen to one of the pieces they are learning, and they'll create a story to go along with the music. And this one is actually kind of interesting because I did this in middle school and high school. We did it in school just a few times, and I also kind of did it on my own because I thought it was a lot of fun to just kind of make up your own story. And so the kids could write a story for it perhaps, or they could draw a picture to represent the music, just how they think the music sounds like to them. So if it's a very slow, beautiful lyrical piece, it could be like a stream, for instance, or a quiet mountainside, or they could write a story about two sad people, or just whatever comes to their mind. Then when they're done with this, they will then discuss as a whole class what they came up with and why, just to kind of get them engaged with each other and to learn a little bit more about each other in the classroom, kind of get to know their peers a little bit. And to me, as the educator, to get to know my students a little bit better. And then from there, this is kind of an interesting part. They will play their music and try to capture what they put on their paper into their own performance. So with this kind of engages them more into the music and become more, entranced with what they're playing. It's not just notes on a page and they have to do this because, they were told to do. They want to do this because they want to express themselves. And they want to put their drawing into, bring it to life, or their piece into words, their writing piece. So it's kind of cool. I find a lot of students actually like this. I know when I did it, my peers, a lot of people thought it was really kind of a cool concept to do. They never really thought of it before. And I know it's kind of hard to do at first, but if you keep doing it, throughout the course of the year, just like maybe a few times a year, once a month at max, or however many pieces you're going to be learning throughout a semester or a quarter, just to kind of get more deeply involved into the music, that what they're doing. And you'll find that they probably will really enjoy this. And so the next classroom management tool I will be using is the Teacher Assertiveness and Clear Rules and Consequences by Lee and Marlene Cantor. And I find this is a really kind of a big important one in classroom management. As we all know, there are many students who are out of control and wily, especially at younger ages, not so much in high school, although they do get more, but in middle school and elementary school, it can be kind of harder to control them. And so by establishing rules that everyone needs to follow and clear consequences that teachers actually follow through, hopefully the classroom will be a great place. And so the overview, so this strategy is used by creating trust and respect with the students, as well as setting a set of rules and consequences. So being a music educator, my classroom will be full of thousands of dollars in equipment, instruments, cases, stands, chairs, whatever it may be, marching equipment. And so with that being said, so building a sense of trust and respect in the classroom is very essential, because your kids are surrounded by this for an hour a day, sometimes a little bit more, and some things can get out of hand. I know in my high school there was a few kids who like to roughhouse around, and sometimes they break stuff, and if you don't have enough money in your budget for that, it can be quite an ordeal with fundraising, and then you get angry parents, and then you get kind of an angry principal or whatever. And so by creating these rules, you get a sense of what your students will do, and they'll kind of hopefully follow what you tell them to do and not do stupid things, I guess, in your room. So it's also important for creating rules and consequences that everyone can agree on to make sure no student or instrument especially gets harmed. So the activity, the students will create a classroom contract that everyone will agree on with rules to follow for their class. So these rules will differ from rules set already by the teacher. And the teacher and the students will then follow the rules created, and failure to follow them result in the consequence given by the teacher for breaking these rules. And so kind of what this is getting at, that each student will create their own contract of what it means to them to have a successful and trust-building classroom, that everyone can do, treat everyone with respect, treat the instruments with respect, no horsing around, no fighting, just kind of your basic classroom rules, I suppose. And these can go along with the teacher's rules already, or you can implement some new ones, just whatever will be great to your students. And hopefully by following these, nothing will get damaged and everyone will have a happy and safe environment. And so I went to the 1 Minute Discipline book by Arnie Bianco, and I chose 3 different disciplines, not all of them necessarily disciplines, but just different types of things you can implement in your classroom. And so this one I found was actually quite interesting. It seems a bit controversial. To some, it might be a little bit controversial, but I thought it was kind of a little bit neat. So this is a letter to parents, and what this basically is students will have a letter sent home to their parents or guardians at the beginning of the year about their student, and the parents can fill out the letter about the general information about their student. So basically it's just kind of a get to know you type letter. So what is the student like at home, and how well do the parents know their child? So get to know your students through the eyes of their parents by sending home the letter provided here. And it's just your basic letter. It has like the teacher's name and the date, and then it has Dear Teacher, and then it has blank spaces to fill out about the parent's child, and then it has the parent's name at the bottom and the date. And the front of the letter is basically Dear Parents. We are off to a great start to our school year. I've established an individual progress folder on each student in the class. As part of that folder, I would like to add a short general information page from you. I will be sharing academic and social progress with you at our first parent-teacher conference and throughout the year. Please include things such as your child's, and then the parent can add whatever they'd like. And so it's kind of just a get-to-know-you letter. It doesn't have to be real personal. It just can be general things about their child. So it can be, their child's dislikes, likes, their favorite things, career highlights, what they want to be when they grow up, their favorite sports, different hobbies they like, different books they'd like, future goals, dreams, and et cetera, et cetera. So just kind of a neat thing for the student to get to know for the teacher to get to know their student a little bit better. And the next one I did is the procedure plus practice equals routine. And this is another effective one that I thought is kind of general rules in the classroom. And basically, it's these procedures for training students to accomplish routine tasks in the classroom. Without procedures and routines, a great deal of time is lost through inefficient activity and movement. This is especially true in the music classroom. The teacher tells the students exactly what to do if they don't know already, and the teacher models some examples. So for the music classroom, it can be hard to get students, to get their instruments ready, out and prepared, sitting down with their music out. I know there can be a great deal of socializing, especially around the lockers, getting their instruments out and, excited for the day. It's almost lunchtime or whatever. I know it just can be kind of hard to get students engaged, ready for band class. And so these models that the teacher can do is, this can be entering the classroom, responding to different questions. The students, these are all for the students. Passing out music quietly, having visitors in the classroom, responding to fire drills, having instruments ready to play, writing on music in pencil and not pen, not playing or talking while the teacher is talking or helping other students or sections, participating, throughout the class, putting instruments away at the end of the period, respectfully, and listening to PA announcements and different other things. And the teacher needs to model these in practice with their students immediately so they can get, lay down the groundwork for their functioning classroom so it isn't chaos. And then the procedure becomes an automatic routine, hopefully after a couple weeks, if a month if need be. And if the students start to slack off or, backside, implement these again. Keep practicing until all the students know what this teacher expects of them, and just to stay on task. And the next one, the last one I did, is visual clues. So these can be like hand gestures, just things to get your students' attention. So visual clues are nonverbal messages sent from the teacher to the students. During the course of the day, kids are often overwhelmed with the verbal commands and cues. Let me just pull the page up right here. Perfect. Visual clues are a refreshing way of telling students what the teacher wants them to do. Generally, they also do not solicit a response. This avoids the typical verbal combat that can often occur when you direct the student. Visual clues are also easier on the teacher by saving energy. These can be hand signals. For example, for my music classroom, these would be my baton up means ready to play, or the hand in the come here motion could mean play louder, finger to the lips, either play softer, or if the students aren't playing, it means be quiet, zipping the lips, be quiet, hand palm raised, stop, finger snapping, tempo or attention, index finger pointed, not now or wait a minute, finger pointing, students cue to play, etc. Now I know students will be kind of used to most of these from their different classrooms, like finger pointing and finger to the lips, but it's important for students to know these and follow exactly what the teacher is telling them right away. And if the teacher practices these with their students right at the beginning of the year, they'll be able to get these down pat. All right, so this is my presentation. I hope you learned a little bit something from these different management strategies. Thank you for listening.